प्रविश्यमवाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं यं गुरुं हि स्वयं सत्यः प्रज्ञा भक्तिविनीतयः दीप्तिश्चापि व्रता नित्यं तं गुरुं प्रणमाम्यहं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। I completed 34. Start from 30. स्थूलादिन्द्रियसञ्चयात् खलु परः सूक्ष्मोऽर्थसङ्घो मनः तस्माच्चापि परं ततो विधिषणा तस्याः परो वै महान् अव्यक्तं महतः परं हि पुरुषो व्यक्तात् परस्तत्परम् नो किञ्चित् सपरागतिः स च परा काष्ठा हि सर्वान्तरः गूढोत्तमा भुवनेष्वयं न सकलैः ज्ञेयो वृतो मायया बुद्ध्याः सूक्ष्मिकया क्रियया पुनरयं सूक्ष्मेक्षणैर्दृश्यते विद्वान् हृद्युपसंहरेद्गिरमिदं चित्तं च बुद्धौ महत्येनान्तं च महान्तमान्तरतमे शान्ते प्रतीच्यात्मनि यज्ञानं बत दुर्गमं सुनिशिता शस्त्रस्य धारा यथा शब्दस्पर्शमरूपमव्ययमयं नित्यं ध्रुवं चारसम् निर्गन्धं यदनन्तमेत्य पुरुषः मृत्योर्मुखान्मुच्यते जागृतनराः तत्प्राप्तुमाचार्यिणः श्रोत्रादीन्द्रियसञ्चयं स भगवान् शब्दादिबाह्यार्थकम् चक्रे यत्तदसौ पुमान् बहिरिमान् भुङ्क्ते स्वकैरिन्द्रियैः धीरः कोऽपि यतेन्द्रियोऽनुभवति सम्प्रत्यगात्मानमत्राप्तुं मोक्षमुषन्न धीरहृदयः कामीतु मृत्योर्वशः लोको येन समीक्षते ध्वनिरसस्पर्शांश्च दुःखं सुखम् रूपं गन्धगुणं च जाग्रति तथा स्वप्ने सुषुप्तावपि अज्ञानं हृदयेन्द्रियाद्यविदितं यस्यास्ति नो किञ्चन ज्ञात्वा स्यात्ममहेश्वरं मधुभुजं धीरो न शोचत्यमुम्. Okay. We are here. So we are looking at the commentary of this verse 34. As I was mentioning in the previous class, so this verse is a summary of two mantras. The two mantras are the third and the fourth mantras of the Kathopanishad, Valli, fourth Valli. Okay, fourth Valli. Yena rupam rasam gandham sabdan sparshamscha maithunan etenaiva vijanati kimatra parishishyate etadvaitat. Then we have swapnantam jagaritantam cha ubhau yena anupashyati mahantam vipumatmanam matvadhiro na shochati. So this is how these two mantras, they are very important mantras in the sense that here in the commentary Bhagavad-pada also elaborately discusses and then tries to take this opportunity to establish the existence of Atman beyond the Dehendriya Sanghata. And the same thing has been done by Ramaraja also elaborately in his commentary. So as I was mentioning in the previous class, the very commencement of the commentary is with the question, Nanu asti kaschit atma padarthaha, Nanu nasti kaschit atma padarthaha. His akshepa is, Nasti kaschit atma padarthaha yam dhiraha pashyet ata aha. Nasti kaschit atma padarthaha is an akshepa. Shariradi sanghadi vyatiriktena atma padarthaha kaschit asti kim? Nasti. So this is the objection which has been raised by him in order to discuss this. So this has the basis of Bhashyakara's commentary. Okay. So I will very quickly tell you, here there are a couple of interesting things and very important things to be known from the viewpoint of Vedanta. So the important things are the following. We speak of again and again various vrittis in Vedanta literature, and this is true even in Yoga Sutra. In fact, the entire Yoga Shastra is meant for vritti nirodha. What do we mean by vritti has been elaborated by Ramaraja. So here let me just start with the fourth line in the commentary of the first para. Though I did, I will just very quickly run through them, because this is to be understood very clearly for the discussion which is going to be carried in the later paragraphs also. So here he says, Antahkaranam chakshuradindriyadvara bahirnirgatya ghatadi vishayakarena parinamate. This is a statement that he makes. See, this is a certain process which is being explained. And the next sentence is, let me read that also and then try to bring the distinctions later. Antascha sukhadyakarena parinamate. Why does he say Bahihi evam parinamate, antaha evam parinamate? So parinamate is basically transforms itself. This has to be understood. Parinamate. Dugdham kshirakarena parinamate. Mrit ghatakarena parinamate. Parinamate means gets transformed. In fact, one of the bhava vikaras is also that. Jayate asti vardhate parinamate apakshiyate nashyati. So parinamate basically means a certain transformation that is tangible to us. This is what is called parinama. And is clearly known to us. Now he is saying it is this transformation which we refer to as vritti. Sayesha parinamaha vrittirityuchyate. Kayesha parinamaha vrittirityuchyate. You don't call the transformation of milk into curd as vritti. Do you? Yadyapi parinamaha atra vritti shabdena abhidhiyate tadapi yah kopi parinamaha vritti shabdena nabhidhiyate adayeva sayesha parinamaha. It is this transformation which we call as vritti. What is special about this transformation? We have to understand. In fact, it may be good to even recall the Yoga Sutras here. The first pada is called Samadhi pada. Right? It has 51 sutras. This 51 sutras can be broadly divided into two groups. The first 11 sutras and then the later 40 sutras. Among the first 11 sutras, once again, 7 sutras can be grouped together. And they explain primarily what is meant by this vritti. So you start with Athayoganuशासनम, then you say Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha, Tadadrashtuhu Sarupe Avasthanam, Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra. Leave that. So starting with Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra, then he goes on Vrittayah Panchatayyaha, Klishta, Klishta. Starting from 5th Sutra to 11th Sutra, it is essentially explanation of what was meant by Vritti in the 2nd Sutra. So Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha, once you say, what is Vritti is to be first of all explained. And the 7th Sutra starting from 5 to 11 are basically explanations of this Vritti. So he is saying Vrittayaha Panchatayyaha Klishta Klishtaha. Having said that, there is a detailed explanation. Okay? Vrittayah Panchatayyaha Klishta Klishtaha. How is the Rupa Panchatayyaha? Panchatayi. Panchatayi is a word which is derived from what is known as Tayap Pratyaya. Okay? Tayap is the suffix. And when is this suffix used? Sankhyayaha avayave tayap. So in the 5th adhyaya we have the sutra. Sankhyayaha avayave tayap means when you want to explain a particular word along with the number of subdivisions that you have, then you use the word tayap. In fact, the most common usage that we have in Vedanta is sadhana chatushtayam. Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, you always say. So you want to explain the word sadhana along with its subdivisions, and therefore you make a compound and you say sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Chatushtaya is basically chatus, then this taya pratyaya, then finally ishtunashtuhu will come, and you will have chatushtaya is the rupa. Similarly, here you have the word panchataya. You can have this word taya pratyaya whenever it is employed. You can have all the 3 lingas. You can say panchatayaha, you can say panchatayi, you can say panchatayam. So here, since we have the word vritti, he is using a feminine form, vrittayah panchatayyaha. He could have simply said vrittihi panchatayi. Right? Why did he use vrittayah panchatayyaha? After all, vritti is antahkaranasya parinamaha, as he was trying to say. Antahkaranasya parinamaha. In fact, I wanted to define vritti as a parinama in general, not necessarily associated with antahkarana, because in Vedanta we also refer to avidya vritti. There is something called antahkarana vritti, there is something called avidya vritti. In Yoga Sutras we do not accept what is known as avidya vritti. We will come to that distinction little later. Now this, so this vritti, vrittayaha, panchatayyaha, klishta, klishtaha. In fact, there is some very interesting remark which is being made by one of the commentators. In fact, the Yoga Sutra has about 10 commentaries. And among these 10 commentaries, then we have super commentaries also. Okay? So, one of the commentaries is by Sadashiva Brahmendra. Okay? It is called Yoga Sudhakara. Okay? So, there I was just looking at this sutra today. Interestingly, he was saying in his commentary, he mentions Yadyapi panchasveva klishtanam aklishtanancha antarbhavaha. So whenever you say panchatayyaha, why do you say it is panchatayyaha? Basically 5, right? Then klishta klishtaha. Is it further subdivision? 5 into 2, 10. So in order to explain this, there is an interesting sentence which is employed. Yadyapi panchasveva klishtanam aklishtanancha antarbhavaha tathapi klishta eva nirodhavyaha iti mandabuddhim varayitum tabhihi sah aklishta apyudahrita. This is a very, very interesting sentence, an important sentence. Normally, we try to feel that, so when we are dancing, joicing, rejoicing, and all that, so that is all fine. But when we are undergoing suffering, then that is what has to be stopped. It is not necessarily that. It is not necessarily that. That is what he is trying to say. Klishta eva nirodhavyaha iti mandabuddhim varayitum tabhihi saha aklishta apyudahrita. In fact, one can very easily see this from the statement which is being made by Krishna in his Bhagavad Gita. So the verse is Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegaihi Mukto Yas Sachame Priyaha. So the Purvardha is Yasma Yasmanno Dvijate Lokaha Lokanno Dvijate Chayaha Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegaihi Mukto Yas Sachame Priyaha. So this is what he says. Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegaihi. Here he brings in Harsha as well as Amarsha. You understand? Amarsha ituktu Krodha ityuchyate. Vastutaha Shantya Bhavaha. Marsha Shabdaha Titiksha-vachi. Mrishyati, Mrishyataha, Mrishyanti. Mrishyate Ubhayapadi. So Amarshaha Navidyate Kshantihi Yasya Saha. So that is what is. So Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegaihi. So this Amarsha Bhaya Udvega etc. is Klishta Vritti. So Harshaha Aklishta Vritti. So Krishna says Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegaihi Muktaha Yaha Sachame Priyaha. So that is what is nicely brought out by Sadashiva Brahmendra in his commentary. See, Nirodhavyaha iti mandabuddhim varayitum tabhihi aklishta apyudahrita. Now let me come back to this sentence. I wanted to bring this because there could be confusion between the vritti that is being spoken of here in Vedanta and the vritti that is being spoken of in Yoga Sutras. Yoga Sutra does not accept what is known as avidya vritti because it lists pramana viparya vikalpa nidra smrtaya. This is the next sutra. See, sixth sutra. So nidra antahkaranasya vritti yatha pramanam antahkaranasya vritti smrtihi antahkaranasya vritti tadvat nidrapi. But in Advaita, so we do not accept the function of antahkarana. Antahkarana is nilina during nidravastha. This is one distinction that you have to keep in mind. Maybe I will come to this little later. Now let me come to this sentence. Antahkaranam chakshuradi-dvara bhirnirgatya ghadadi vishayakarena parinamate. See, this is what is being said. Now, the next sentence is Antaha sukhatyakarena parinamate. So there is a difference between this parinama and that parinama, and that is why he puts them in two sentences. What is the distinction? The distinction here is Antaha sukhadyakarena parinamate. So here there is no other thing beyond this antahkarana for it to transform into sukha. When it says, see, so suppose you see, antahkaranam ghatadyakarena parinamate, suppose you say. So does it transform into the form of ghata? So upadana for ghata is completely different. Right? Mrida Ghatakarena Parinamate, when you say, so Mrida is Upakarana, Upadana. Whereas for Sukha, do we have something else as Upadana? That is why we have this mantra in Vedāntamuktāvalī. Kama sankalpaha vijikitsa shraddha ashraddha dhritihi adhritihi hrir dhir bhihi ityetat sarvam mana eva. See, shraddha ashraddha dhritihi adhritihi, all these are mana eva, means so they are the transformation of mind itself, which means so upadanam also is buddhi. You understand? And then for you to cognize them, there is one more level of transformation that is required. Okay? So when we say antahkaranam bahirnirgatya ghatadi vishayakarena parinamate, you can say ghatakara vrittihi. So here this vritti is not the transformation of that entity, okay, the upadana, but a certain transformation which enables you to gain that knowledge. A transformation that is required for you to cognize that entity is what is referred. So with reference to sukha, kamaha, sankalpaha, etc. So tadakarena parinamaha. So tadvishaya prakashartham anyah kaschana parinamaha. There are two levels of parinama. Whereas in the case of ghata, so it is only tat prakashaka siddhi parinamaha. Understand? So tat prakashaka dhi rupena parinamaha, which is what we call as vritti. So that is what he is saying. Sayesha parinamaha vrittirityuchyate. Sacha vrittihi swataha jadapi atma chaitanyabhasa viddha. Atma chaitanyabhasa viddha sati chetana bhavati. So though the vritti is basically a transformation of one padartha, jada padartha, tatha, so even then, so it does not immediately gain this ability to give you the cognition. For that, he says, Atma Chaitanya Bhasa Rasa Viddha Sati. This word rasa is used in order to hint you a certain simile. Suppose you have a glass. You go and stand in front of the glass. So it doesn't reflect you. If you had put some coating on that, okay, so mercury compound, then it will sort of reflect you. So that is what we mean by rasa. So here in order to hint that, so he is giving this, see, Atma Chaitanya Bhasa Rasa Viddha Sati Chetana Bhavati Tatha Cha Vrittya Sabdadi Vishayajnanam Bhavati Purushasya. I told you that you have to remove the danda and then put the danda after Purushasya. Then Evam Sati, Sati is Hrasva. Vrityuparudha Chaitanyameva Sabdadi Jnanakaran Anyaditi Siddham. So what is Jnanakaranam? Vrityuparudha Chaitanyameva Sabdadi Jnanakaranam. Okay. So this Vrityuparudha Chaitanya, this is a very important phrase to understand. So neither Vritti nor the Chaitanya will be able to give you the cognition, but the Chaitanya in coordination with this Vritti will give you this Jnana. Okay, so that is what he is trying to say. Now, we move to the next para. Nacha kartuhu atmanaha. I think it is better to break there. Okay. Atmanaha swarupameva chaitanyam katham karanam bhavati iti vachyam akartrutvada atmanaha. Kartuhu atmanaha swarupameva chaitanyam. See, swarupameva chaitanyam. See, how do you describe this? So, I am atma chit swabhava, right? So, Chaitanyam katham karanam bhavati iti vachyam. So just now what did we see in the previous sentence? Chaitanyameva shabdadi jnana karanam you were saying, right? So the sentence was, it is this vritti pratiphalita chaitanya which is the cause for jnana. Karanam means the important cause for jnana. Now he is asking this question, Atmanaha Chaitanyam Karanam Bhavati iti Vachyam. You should not ask this question. How does it become Karana? Okay. Atma Sarupameva Khlu Chaitanyam. So now he is saying Akartritva Atmanaha. Kintu Ekasyiva Chaitanyasya Vastutaha Akartuhu Akaranasya Antahkaranavachedena Kartrutvam Tadvrityavachedena Antahkartrutvam Tadvrityavachedena Karanatvam api Bhavati Avidyaya iti Vivekaha. So Atma is again and again described as Akarta. Now, under these circumstances, the antahkaranavachedena kartrutvam tadvrityavachedena karanatvam pi bhavati. Katham bhavati? Avidyaya bhavati. By the superimposition of this Chaitanya with this connection. So you describe him as karta as well as karanam. Okay? So this is to be understood. Tatha. In fact, he further goes, Jagrativa swapnepi avidyavrityuparudhena. So this is why I was trying to clarify you a little earlier that there are two kinds of vrittis that we talk about in Vedanta. One is avidyavritti, the other is antahkarana vritti. Okay? So when it comes to cognizing things which are external, so then you say antahkaranasya vritti. So certain other cognitions which are happening within inside, see, saha dhirah purushaha, shraddhavan purushaha, etc. So they are all certain transformations happening inside only. So shraddhavan means, so he has faith in Shastra, he has faith in Guru, he has faith in Veda, etc. So this is Shraddha. Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satyabuddhyavadharanam Sa Shraddha Kathita Sadbhihi Yaya Vastupalabhyate. So this is how it is defined. So these are all qualities. So this has to do only with certain transformation within this person. Okay? A certain attitude as you call it. Okay? So what has attitude got to do with? It has got to do with a certain samskara that he has created in his own chitta. Okay? So that is what we mean, see, by antahkarana vritti. There is something called avidya vritti which has been stated. See, that is why he is saying jagrativa swapnevi avidya vrityuparudhena yena chaitanyena lokaha taijasaha swapnadrashte tyetat. So here you have to carefully follow. In the verse you have the first word lokaha. Loko yena samikshate. That loko yena samikshate, he brings in all avasthas. This mantra lists of all avasthas. Yena rupam rasam gandham. Then it moves on to, next mantra moves on to Swapnantam jagaritantam cha bhauyenanupashyati. So all the avasthas are being referred to in the mantra. So in those avasthas, this lokaha has to be understood differently. That is why initially when he explained the word lokaha, he said lokaha pramadri vargaha ityetat. Now he is saying lokaha taijasaha. So in different avasthas we give different names to the same Purusha. So lokaha taijasaha. What does it mean? Swapnadrashte tietat. Okay, here you have to understand the lokaha as swapnadrashta. Swapnadrashte tietat. So swapnadrashta also hears sounds, etc. It is not because of this indriya vyapara. Okay. So dhvanyadin nidra kalpitan samikshate. So it is a certain transition from Jagrata Avastha to Sushupti Avastha. In between, so there is a phase in which you see various kinds of dreams. And the Shastra, in this Shastra, they will repeatedly say Nidra Kalpitan. So when you want to move from one state to other state, you pass through some intermediary state that is generally called as dream. Now for some people, the second entry into the second stage may not be possible, okay, because they do not have this RT-PCR test, let us say. So something like that. So in between, so they go to dream before going to Nidra, some Pratibandhaka will be there, they once again return back. That is a different kind of a problem. Anyway, so here they say Nidra Kalpitan, created by Nidra, Samikshate. So there you have to remove the danda. See, because it is a long sentence. So I will explain that. You remove danda there, put a comma. Then Swapnepi, then Sushuptaucha. In the verse you have the Swapne Sushuptavapi. Okay. So Sushuptaucha Lokaha. Now he once again carefully explains the word Lokaha. He says Prajnaha. So there he was saying Taijasaha. Now he is saying Lokaha Prajnaha. Yena Avidyavrityavacchinnena Chaitanyena. So here there is a important correction that you need to make. See, Ajnanam api, Ajnanam, just to break there first of all. Otherwise, there is a problem here. So, as it is, if you read Chaitanyena Ajnanamapi Shabdanandancha Samikshate, there is nothing like Shabdananda. Okay. So, it took some time to figure out. See, Chaitanyena Ajnanam. In the verse, at the beginning of the third pada, you find Ajnanam. Okay. But then you have an api which is there in the previous quarter. At the end of the second quarter, you find the word api. Okay. Now he is saying api. So here api shabdat anandancha. There is one da which is missing. Okay. So api shabdat Anandancha, api shabdad anandancha. So then it become okay. Otherwise it was extremely difficult to figure out this. So Chaitanyena ajnanam. Then api shabdat anandancha samikshate. So there also you have to remove the danda. Why? Because this quotation is basically explaining that later. We have this quotation which will appear in various places in Vedanta texts. In fact, it is basically an experience of every individual which is being quoted here. Many places in all cultures, so people have this tradition of asking, did you sleep well? Okay. So whatever be the bhasha, wherever you go, okay, throughout the world they will ask, did you sleep well? Okay. So then he may say, I had a very good sleep. So sometimes he will say, I had a disturbed sleep. So I had no sleep. So no sleep can lead to a lot of complications, and that is why people always ask, did you have a good sleep? Okay. So that anyway, so we will have a separate lecture on Why sleep is important. Now this, so here he is saying, see, so the expression of the individual is Sukhamaham aswapsam nakinchidavedisham. See, so that is what is, the second part is most important. So nakinchidavedisham, so I did not have, see, any other experience I did not have. Okay, there was some mosquito, some auto will go in the road, so people will wake up. See, they may be inside a glass room in a 5-star hotel, but one lady was telling me, one lady, I booked a hotel in Adyar Gate Hotel, which is considered a 5-star hotel. So the next day I asked her, did you have a good sleep? So she said, no, I could not sleep well. Then I asked why. Some autos were going. You understand? Some people sleep on the lorry. You understand? These fellows who carry this sand, etc., they happily sleep on lorry itself. So they have no problem about noise. But some people have problem even when they stay in 5-star hotel. Anyway, so Sukhamaham aswapsam nakinchidavedisham, that fellow says. See, there are fellows who you have seen. So this was a very wonderful sight. So we have to learn from this. If you go to Kashi, particularly, because Chennai, Bengaluru, etc., cycle rickshaws are gone. In Kashi and certain other places we still have. You see the cycle rickshaw fellow. So it may be 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So he will be just sitting on it and leaning on that. And then he will be happily sleeping. Have you seen that? So, nakinchidavedisham, all the noise in the road doesn't make any difference for him. Sukhamaham aswapsam, the fellow sleeps. So here, the point here is, in this phrase, there are two experiences that are recounted. It is recounted after you come out of the sleep. What are the two parts of it? Sukham aswapsam. Okay. So you have the cognition of sukha and you have the cognition of ajnana also. Nakinchit avedisham. Okay. So these two things are to be noted. That is why the Ramaraya in the previous sentence he is saying avidyavrityavacchinnena chaitanyena. Understand? There is one thing called antahkarana vritti. There is something called avidyavritti. So as far as this pratyaya is concerned, from the viewpoint of Vedanta, Sukhamaham aswapsam naginchidavedisham, for you to have a cognition, a vritti is essential. So kevala chaitanyam cannot do. And therefore, we present in the theoretical framework something called avidyavritti. Okay? So this avidyavritti is responsible for you to have this cognition. Understand? So Sukhamaham aswapsam nakinchidavedisham. So here he is saying chaitanyena ajnanam apishabdat anandancha samikshate. Sukhamaham aswapsam nakinchidavedisham iti uttita paramarishalingat. This is a very important phrase. See, uttita paramarishat lingat. So this paramarisha is, linga is basically the hetu. Okay. So lingam is something which indicates to you. Suppose you infer fire. Okay. So dhuma is the linga. Okay. So vanhi is the lingi through which you infer something. Okay. That which enables you to infer is what is called linga. So that which is known through this is called lingi. That which possesses linga. Here he is saying that paramarisha means, so you first understand something and later you recognize. Right? So this paramarisha which is happening, Sukhamaham aswapsam nakinchit vedisham. So this linga tells you that there is a vritti which has been there Without that vritti, you cannot have this cognition. So, Uthita Paramarishal Lingat Sushuptau Atmanaha Ananda Jnananubhavaha Anumiyate. Understand? So, Lingat Anumiyate. So, that is not Pratyaksha then. So, through this Linga, you infer. Okay? Lingat Anumiyate iti. So, after iti you put a comma. Then you say, na tadapalapaha kartum shakyaha iti bhavaha. Tadapalapaha kartum na shakyaha. So, tadapalapaha, kasya apalapaha. So, here you see, tatha jagrativa swapnepi. That is where the sentence starts. It is a long sentence. See? So, samikshate. So, after that, you have to come na datapalapaha. It is through this chaitanya, which is either antahkarana uparudha or vrityuparudha, that you have these cognitions taking place in you. Okay? Na tadapalapaha kartum shakyate. So, chaitanya rupasya atmanaha apalapaha kartum na shakyate. So, this is how you have to do the anvaya. Okay? In between there are lots of things which are stated. Tad apalapaha kartum na shakyate iti bhavaha. So, here let me just tell you, so since I lifted this Yoga Sutra, so here Ramaraya says avidyavarti. What does the Yoga Sutra say? There are 5 sutras, right? From the Pramana, Pratyaksha Anumana Agama Pramanani. After that, Pramana Viparyo Mithya Jnanam Matadrupa Pratishtham Vikalpa. Sabda Jnananupati Vastu Shunyo Vikalpaha Abhava Pratyaya Lambana Vrittir Nidra. That is what we have to understand. So there is a distinction. So here you see Shabda Jnananupati Vastu Shunyo Vikalpaha. That is also very important. Anyway, I will not get into that because that will take us into some other thing. So that is now this Abhava Pratyaya Lambana Vrittihi Nidra. How is Nidra defined? Abhava Pratyaya Alambana Vrittihi. So, Nidra is defined as, so Abhava Pratyayasya Alambana ya Vritti. So, Abhava Pratyayo nama kasya Abhava Pratyaha. So, suppose I see in the class some X or Y is absent. So, that is also Abhava Pratyaha. So, Lakshmanaha Adya Kakshayam Nasit. Abhava Pratyaya. So, this is not X or Y Vishesha Bhava, but Jnana Samanya Bhava. So, Jnana Samanya Bhavasya. So, here for any Jnana to take place, Vritti is essential. So, this is how we have to understand. Okay. Now, in this pratyaya, see, Sukham Hamaswapsam Nakinchita Vedisham is the experience of every individual, whether you choose the yoga route to explain or you choose the Vedanta route to explain. Right? So, this is something which is the experience of the individual. Now, this Abhava Pratyaha, so Tasya Alambana Vrittihi. In fact, there are slightly different interpretations that are given by different acharyas. Okay? So, but anyway, the point is, so all the acharyas, Abhava Pratyaha means you can take Jnana Samanya Abhava Pratyaha. Okay? So, Tam Vishayi Kurvati Vrittihi Nidra. Tasyaha Sukhamahamaswapsam. In fact, Brahmendra also says Sukhamahamaswapsam Nakinchita Vedisham iti Smaranasya anubhavapurvakatvad vrittitvam. This is something which we have to very clearly understand. So for any smarana, so that is what he meant by paramarsha lingat. Understand? Okay. So this paramarsha lingat is what Ramaraya here uses, whereas Brahmendra uses smarana. So it is a smaranam only, obviously, but all smarana take place only when there is an anubhava preceding it. Without anubhava preceding it, there cannot be any smaranam. Therefore, here smaranasya anubhavapurvakatvad vrittitvam. Normally this is a very, very special kind of a vritti which they are talking about. In fact, he is saying vastvabhavaha pratiyate yasmin avarake tamasi tat tamaha abhava pratyaha. This is how Brahmendra defines. So there is a certain ignorance, and that ignorance itself is one thing. So the other is abhavasya pratyaha. You can also take it as jnanam. Jnana samanyasya abhavatmakaha yaha pratyaha. That somehow you may have to say is one kind of antahkaranasya parinama. Okay? But then in Vedanta, we take antahkarana is completely lina, based on certain Shruti Vakyas. And therefore, we invoke another kind of vritti. Okay? So, which we call as avidya vritti. There are other reasons also why avidya vritti has to be presented in Vedanta. But in Yoga Sutra, they put it as antahkarana vritti. This distinction you have to keep in mind. Anyway, now, moving to the next para. Nanu. Once again, an objection is being raised here. Nanu chakshurādīndriyaihi eva karanaihi lokaha shabdādīn grinhāti manasāja sukhādīn iti vyarthaha. You can either put visarga or you can remove visarga, but anyway that hyphen is not required. Vyarthaha atma chaitanyabhyupagamaha ata aha. Nanu, whenever it comes, there is a certain query which is being raised now. What is the query? Chakshurādi indriyaireva karanaihi lokaha shabdādīn grinhāti. So we know this, right? So as long as the ear is functioning, I am able to hear the sound. As long as eye is functioning, I am able to see the rupa. So therefore he is saying, indriyaireva karanaihi lokaha shabdādīn grinhāti. So lokaha, the world, lokaha janaha, shabdādīn grinhāti. So as far as sukha etc. are concerned, it has to do with the manodharma. So he says, sukhādīnāmpi manasa grinhāti. Understand? As far as the shabdasparsha ruparasa, gandha etc. are concerned, they are known through indriyas. And as far as sukha, kama, sankalpa etc. are concerned, that is known through the mind. Okay? Vyarthaha atma chaitanyabhyupagamaha. Why are you inventing one more element called Atma? So these Indriyas are responsible for this, Mana is responsible for that. Of course, even with Indriya, the mind has to be coordinating. That is all fine. Anyway, these two are sufficient for us to gain the jnana. Why say something called Atman beyond this? Ata aha means, therefore he says. What does he say? Lokaha yena hridayendriyadi samikshate. So hridayendriyadi samikshate. Now you not only cognize shabdasparsha rupa rasa gandha, so not only you have the cognition of sukha, dukha and so on, but you also cognize the indriyas, hridaya themselves. So the instruments are also cognized. So that for explaining that, you anyway need one more entity. Okay. So therefore he is saying, so the question objection is, so let them themselves be sufficient for explaining. Now he is saying, Yena hridayendriyadi samikshate adipadat buddhi grahanam. So hridaya buddhi is separate. Hridayena kim samikshate? Sarvam buddhya samikshate. Dukhadi manasmi. But there is a phrase which people use, no? Okay. Hearty congratulations, no? What is hearty? They also say, I love you by my heart. What has heart got to do? There is some connection. Anyway, we'll leave it now. So now, like in Ramayana we have very interesting verse. Asya devya manastasmin tasya chasyam pratishthitam teneyam sacha dharmatma muhurtamapi jivati. Anjaneya. Asya devya manastasmin tasya chasyam pratishthitam teneyam sacha dharmatma muhurtamapi jivati. So this Anjaneya, who was initially thinking, why is Rama lamenting so much? Okay? After going there, after seeing Sita, and now he started thinking, rethinking, how is it that Rama is alive, leaving his lady? So now I have an answer. The answer is, Asya devya manastasmin tasya cha asyam pratishthitam. Okay? Therefore they are living. There is an interesting verse even in Kalidasa. See, Asha bandha. So this Asha bandha, the hope. So that is completely, that makes them alive. Okay. Now he so this Yena hridayendriyani samikshate adipadat buddhi grahanam. Yena hridayendriyadikam avabhasate tenaiva shabdadikam apiti krutva nasti hridayadinam shabdadibhasakatvam bhavaha. So the idea is this, even from a theoretical viewpoint, okay, you can now hypothesize, you can say, as far as the Shabda etc. are concerned, Indriya is responsible. As far as Sukha is, Mana is responsible. As far as the knowledge of Indriya and Hridaya, Manasa etc. is concerned, Atma is responsible. You can have a third entity, right? Then this is not feasible. Okay? So even from the viewpoint of parsimony, the Laghavatu. So, in fact, this is Tadhetoreva Tadhetatve Madhye Kintena. Why this fellow? So now here, see, Yena Hridayendriyadikam avabhasate. The entity which makes you cognize these indriyas and the activities of the mind, etc. Tenaiva shabdadikam api iti krutva Nasti hridayadinam shabdadi bhasakatvam bhavaha. Okay. Now, he raises one more objection. Nachaivam chakshuradehe katham karanatvam vyavaharaha iti vachyam. Suppose you say, the Atman is Chaitanyam only, vrityuparudham Chaitanyam. So that is karanam. So this is karta. If you say so, Chakshuradehe katham karanatva vyavaharaha iti vachyam. Chakshuradehe tadvara nirgata buddhi vrittehe taduparudha chaitanyasya cha avivekat iti. How are you doing this? I am doing this because of the superimposition of one with the other. Avivekaha means viveka bhavaha. So where is the viveka bhava? So you say obviously chakshuhu karanam, no doubt. Chakshuradehe katham karanatvam vyavaharaha. So this has to do with the previous sentence which he was trying to mention. So you look at the last para in page 30. So then you understand why this question is asked. See, here, kintu ekasyiva chaitanyasya akartuhu akaranasya antahkaranavachedena kartrutvam tadvrityavachedena karanattvampi bhavati. Okay, so this same Chaitanya, so with reference to this it is called karta, with reference to this is called karana. Okay, now he is saying, so if that itself is karana, okay, so then how is it that chakshuhu is called karana? So therefore he is saying chakshuradehe tadvara nirgata buddhivrittehe taduparudha chaitanyasya cha avivekat. Okay? So you do not see them to be two distinct things. Okay? Avivekat, viveka agrahat. That is what you have to understand. Iti bhavaha. Now there is one more short thing. We will cover this para also. Nachaivam. So here I think you should remove that gap. Chaitanyenaiva. Okay, it should be one word. Nachaivam chaitanyenaiva avabhasyatam kim chakshuradina iti vachyam. Okay, then by chaitanya itself you call. What is the need for chakshuhu? Iti vachyam. Therefore he says chaitanyena samanyakarena avabhasitopi shabdadihi vrittiparudha chaitanyena visheshakarena avabhasate. Okay. So what you have to understand is, though it is the Chaitanya which is responsible, it cannot function on its own but only through the vritti it will be. Okay. So shabdadihi vrittiparudha chaitanyena visheshakarena avabhasate. Evam visheshavabhasitaha eva shabdadihi jnataha ityuchyate. Okay. So this vishesha pratipattihi. So this is something which is very, very important to understand. So even from a very general viewpoint, from the viewpoint of science itself I can tell you. So you can see certain things from a large distance. But then you may not be able to see the details, right? If you have a binocular, suppose you say, you will be able to see the details, right? So certain instruments, that is what is meant by visheshakarena avabhasyate. So there is a generic karana and there is a specific karana. So this Chaitanyam is the generic cause and the specific things are being thrown through these instruments. So that is what is meant by visheshakarena avabhasyate. Did the binocular make you see? Did the chakshuhu make you see? All are responsible that visheshakara. Okay? So he is known through certain things. Avabhasyate evam visheshavabhasitaha eva shabdadihi jnatam ityuchyate. Okay? So you hear some noise. So you will not be able to say if other things are also there. So whether it is Kambodhi, Kalyani, Yedukala Kambodhi, you don't know. Okay. But if you carefully listen something, so some particular thing will give you that indication. Understand? So general knowledge is there, Shabdasya Jnana. Parantu, so that particular Arohana, Avarohana will make you understand this. Similarly this, okay? Vishesha bhasitaha eva shabdadihi jnataha ityuchyate tasmat chakshuradikam atmanaha upadhibhutatvat upakarana matram. Okay? So they are just upadhi and they are serving as instruments. So I think we'll stop here. So we'll continue in the next class. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Virjam Karavavahi तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सर्वे सुखिनः सन्तु, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्।